Hi again. What we'll do now is start putting the proposals on. This sketch might be a bit too crude for what we do next, so we could possibly trace over this and create our own kind of guides instead. So I think we'll do that. We'll create a new layer and rename it to guides. Use caps again. Okay, and I'll also duplicate the background, and this will become the as existing view, which we can use right at the end. So I'm just going to drag the background, rename it to as existing. Okay, it's useful to have a kind of a fallback in case you accidentally do something to your background that you didn't want to do. Okay, and we'll switch that off just now so that it doesn't kind of cause us any problems. Okay, so on the guides layer I want to choose a nice bright colour to work with, so I'm going to go for the kind of very fluorescent looking green that we can use. Okay, I'm going to get in a bit closer. Okay, so I can kind of tidy things up here a little bit. So I want to draw lines. At the moment they're drawing lines using pixels, so it's a bit simpler, and the weight there is a bit heavy, so I'm going to make them 7. Okay, so I'm going to put my own lines on top of these ones. I'm just going to kind of use the outside, going near the outside edge of the shapes here. I'll take a line across the top there. Okay, I'm going to take one right down the middle of this line, and it would ideally this should be vertical. Okay, but you can see if I hold the control, the vertical is taking it back the way. So I really need to trace over what's there, otherwise the perspective is going to be distorted. Okay, so let's take it to about here. Okay, what I'm going to do is use the exact frontage line here. Okay, so I'm going to go over that black line to meet at the corner. Okay, and what I could do here is get a bit more accurate to the edge of the building. So I like to leave these coins, these nice stones, so I'm going to have mine set back slightly. I'll pick up on the end of the green line here, and I'm setting myself back from those coin stones. They're a nice feature, you wouldn't want to damage those in any way. Okay, over on this side, okay, we want to come back at an angle so we can give the impression that there's an alleyway going between the two, which there is. There's a little public access between those two. Okay, at the top we need to come down from here. Okay, and I'm gonna do a living wall that's not that thick. I don't want it to go back that far. Okay, it would be a fairly, we're talking probably about 600, 700, 800 millimeters thick. Okay, so really I just want to be kind of parallel, well, in perspective with this line. So I'll bring this down, and judging this by eye, I'm going to bring it down to about here. Okay, I'm going to put in another guideline, and this is for a base for this. So instead of the grass, the vegetation features going right down to the pavement, I'm going to take them a bit higher up. So maybe use this level here and strike a line across from there. So I'm just judging the perspective for this line. Okay, it can all be tweaked later on if we find it doesn't look too good. Okay, and take a line back as well. Okay, so that's my plan. So I'm going to turn the sketch off now, so you can see my guides in place. Okay. Right, so that's us got a reasonable framework to work in. We now need the proposal. So I'm going to open the living wall. So we've got living wall image from Google. Okay, now just check the I'll just close a couple of these actually, there's too many files open. Okay, we'll finish with the guide sketch. No need to save changes, and that's a bit easier. So the shape of this is, is pretty vertical. Okay, if I try to squash this shape into the other one, then it's going to be distorted quite a lot. So really, I want to keep this looking kind of natural sized leaves and things. I only want probably about half of this. So using the polygonal lasso with no feathering, I'm going to take a portion of this, probably about half of it. Okay, don't worry about the shape that you choose, we can tidy this up in a second. Okay, so I've taken that amount, so Control C to copy that, then do Control N to create a new file. It's coming from the clipboard, double click, then Control V. Okay, so that's the shape that I took, but ideally I want this to be rectangular instead of kind of trapezoidal. So we do Edit, Transform, Distort, okay, and pull these so that we don't see any white around the edge. Okay, a little bit of this bottom corner, and just to be safe, I'll just take it down a tiny bit there as well. Okay, apply that. Now do Control C. Oh, sorry, Control A, Control C. Copy that shape only. Okay, now go to the proposals and Control V. Okay, so it's come in now and it's rectangular, it's not trapezoidal. So I'm going to rename this to the living wall. Okay, getting a little bit closer here. And do Edit, Transform, Distort. And now, because we've already kind of made it rectangular, it's much easier to drag and place over our guides. Okay, the same top and bottom. Just drop that right on top of those guides so we get good coverage. Okay, just check that, zoom out a bit. That's looking fine. Can be tweaked later if you find there's little gaps. So apply that. Okay, now we'll deal with what's happening around the edge of it to make it look a bit more solid and a bit more buildable. So finished with these two files, can close these, and I'm going to open some Brickwork material. Okay, let's view these by icons, a bit easier. So I've got a brick texture material. There's lots of texture websites you can find online, and in real terms the height there, probably looking at about 600 millimeters. Okay, bricks are generally 75 millimeters high, so 2 lines of bricks is 150. So I would need 8 lines of bricks to make this look realistic. Okay, so count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll cut away, I'll borrow this amount of the brickwork material. So Control C, come back to here, Control V. Okay, so firstly it's huge, so we can do Edit, Transform, Scale. So let's bring it down to a reasonable height. Okay, and if I place it carefully in the corner there, okay, and then do my scaling, sorry, wrong button, hold Shift, and drag the corner, I can match the height at that near edge. Could have done it at this end as well, either way would be the same operation. So that's scale wise, that's looking pretty good. Okay, you don't have to finalize the transformation just yet. You can go and use another transformation straight away. So do edit, transform, distort. So now I can drag this onto the corner of my object. Okay, so that looks pretty realistic. Okay, so let's get in closer. We need to see a bit more detail here. Okay, we want to make sure we're spot on with this. Okay, that looks better. How about over here? A little bit high. Okay. And down here, we can take it a little bit further across. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of green there, which I probably don't want to see. So I'll take it up a little bit higher. And similarly at this end, I'm still seeing a little bit of bright green sneaking through there. So I'll take that a little bit higher. Okay, I could put the brickwork, if I rename it brick, that could go underneath the living wall. Let me see what that looks like. Okay, it's a bit more of a durable material. Okay, all I need now is a portion of this to put back into the alleyway. So if I just grab a little bit of that, okay, maybe about this amount, and copy and paste. Okay, move that to here and then distort it. And remember, it's going backwards, so there would be the bricks on this line should be a bit smaller. So edit, transform, distort, so we can pull this into place. Now those bricks are going to be too small, so step back and we'll just chop some of this away. Taken too much, so I'll lop a bit off, select, deselect, now try the transform. Okay, so we try and get this onto there. Okay, a little bit of pulling and pushing required, so we get things tidy. Okay, that looks reasonably believable. Okay, maybe a little nudge to the side to get rid of the green. And remember that because this is going down into that darker alley, then brick 2, we'll call this, could be a bit darker. So image, adjustments, brightness, contrast, and we'll just take these down a bit just to give a kind of impression of 3D. Okay, the contrast, this brick is very high contrast as well, so we'll adjust the contrast of this one. We'll just take the oops, sorry, not the brightness. Leave the brightness as it was, but take the contrast down. And you could take a bit of the colour out of that as well. That sometimes works well. Hue saturation, and we just take a bit of the sting out of it. Do that to the other brick layer as well. So just take the colour out, just make it a little bit weaker. It doesn't look so forceful then. Okay, and something to put down here, you know, that to build brickwork that high would be a bit unrealistic. It wouldn't be very safe. So this would probably be some kind of steel framing in here, and we'll put in some timber cladding along the side. So we'll open, so I can close the brick texture, and open the wood boarding. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll just take a portion from the side. Let's go to the second kind of panel there and copy that. Control C, Control V. Okay, it's enormous. Okay, so we'll scale that down. Edit, transform, scale. So we need it scaled down to be the same thickness as we have here. So let's zoom in and keep scaling down, holding shift so that we keep the proportions correct. Okay, and keep going. Okay, we decide how big the planks should look. Okay, taking it down to there is making the planks look very small. Okay, so I'm going to make them a bit bigger. So let's say that's the kind of size I want the planks to look, possibly a bit bigger. Okay, now we haven't got enough material to fill the gap there. So if I drag that onto the new layer icon, then move that layer, holding shift, you can drag it vertically. Now it'd be good if this snapped on to the underside of the layer above. I'll see if that'll work. If I put snaps back on, and yeah, it kind of snaps into place then. Okay, do the same again. We still need more of this material. Okay, shift and drag, and it just snaps into place. Okay, we need another panel. Yeah, one more. Okay, shift and drag. From this distance, yeah, it's snapping into place. Okay, so we'll join all those together. So you can either select them, right click and merge layers. Okay, rename this to timber. Okay, and then we need to do our distortion. So let's put it into place first. Okay. Okay. Edit, transform, distort, and we'll just pull this up, and it's snapping on there quite nicely. You can snap onto the corner of the brickwork, hopefully. Yep. Okay, and do the same at the top. We won't have anything to snap onto at the top. Well, this will snap onto the corner of the living wall, but this won't snap onto the corner of the guides. Okay, so I just have to do that by eye. Okay, but it picks up the perspective all the way down and looks pretty believable. Okay, this is round the corner as well, so possibly a bit darker for that. Image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. So just tame it down a bit so that people's focus is on the plants and not the materials. Okay. Now the guides have done their job. They worked well. So we can hide the guides now. Look for any gaps. And the last little bit of tidying up I would do here is in the background. You can see where the original shop front was. There was a dip. Maybe the doorway was dropped slightly to help access, but it's left us with a bit of an awkward kind of mess in the pavement area. So this would happen on the background layer, and using the clone stamp tool we want to pull the ground into here. So we pick up the ground and we'll paint it, and it should go underneath. So we would be picking up the colour nearby and just painting it up to the new brickwork. Okay, down the alleyway it's a little bit trickier. So what I'll do here is protect this area. Okay, let's go to about here. Okay, so I'm going to mask this area off so we can't make a mess outside that area. Then clone stamp. Find it, but I'm going to put the opacity down. Okay, so I can blend it in a bit more gently. Okay, so I can give the impression that there's a bit of depth going down the alleyway. I'll just tidy up things there as well. Okay, select and deselect, so it just fades off. Now we don't have to show every little bit of detail everywhere. This is looking a wee bit rough here. I think the timber could do with being stretched a wee bit there. Edit, transform. The closer in you get, the kind of sometimes you notice some of these little problems. Here, just pull that timber down a tiny bit. Looks a bit better. Okay. Okay, that kind of takes us up to the end of stage 2. We've got our proposal in place. It's looking pretty tidy, pretty believable, and we'll stop the video just there.